Hey, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor. I hope you're doing well. My guest today, well, it's Jade MacRae, and she's back. Last time she was on the show was in April 2019, which ended up being episode number 42. If you haven't heard that, go back and check it out. You don't have to hear that before this one. This was a catch-up. It's been 5 years. A lot's happened in 5 years. We recorded this at the Starfish Club at Clovelly Bowling Club. It was right before her second sold-out show. I got to hang around after the recording for what ended up being a pretty special gig, and I feel pretty lucky to have been one of the people in that room to be able to witness what was an incredible gig. All right, let's rip an A. This is episode 142. Jade MacRae returns. Here we go. I think we're rolling. Welcome back, Jade MacRae.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, really good. Thank you.
It's 2 months off 5 years since the first one we did of these.
Jeez, that's flown by.
Yeah, and I probably best prefer this view than the. so we're currently at the Clovelly Bowling Club, which is the Starfish Club. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So what's the deal with the Starfish Club? Because the last bunch of times that you've been back, you've played here.
Yeah, so it's actually a really wonderful gig, spearheaded by Hamish Stewart and Jonathan Schwartz, and they've been putting this gig on for, I think it's almost 25 years, and it's the first Monday of every month, and the location or the venue has been Clovelly Bowling Club for a long time, at least 15 years, I feel like. And it happens every month, and they usually are the house band, and you can bring in any other musicians that you want, have a small band, a big band. And what's great about it is, there's a really dedicated audience that basically always come. And
right, so the people that were here last, so for the people to know, this is your second night here?
Yeah, we played last night too.
Yep. So you reckon you get the same people here tonight?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Did you recognise them from the last time you were here?
Some super eager people will come 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
But definitely last night there were people who I've seen here a number of times.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's really great like that. It's one of the few gigs where I feel like I don't really have to promote, and it's all good. People just come, and that's amazing. These days as a musician, we spend so much time having to promote things and begging people to come and buy tickets or buy this or buy that, and this is one of those rare places where you can feel pretty comfortable that people are just going to come along and have a good time.
Yeah, that's cool. Mum can sit in if she wants. She can.
Is it plus?
Yeah, all plus one.
Plus one, not plus two.
No, times 2. Yeah. My mum's with me tonight.
Yeah. So we're sitting in the gig room, and there's a bit of a sound check going on, which is your dad playing at the moment.
It's actually Bill Risby over there.
Is it? Oh, I haven't turned around yet. So
you couldn't really ask for some more beautiful ambient music in the background.
Yeah. I think when we were at my place, did the last one, we had birds. We had a guy on the whippersnipper. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Yeah. And gum nuts dropping on the roof.
That's right. Well, we were in nature, and now here is pretty spectacular though. So for people who haven't been here, the bowling club is set like right on the cliffs of Clovelly, and it's basically panoramic views of the ocean from any point in the room. So it's an amazing spot to play, especially in the summertime, because you get to see the view, and it's beautiful. Yeah. So like I said, I haven't been to the bowling club. I've been to the Clovelly Hotel a number of times. Oh, yeah, we've all been there, mate.
that was a pretty cool hangout, but top spot. Yeah. And I went back and had a bit of a listen to that last episode yesterday. And the first thing I noticed, and like I said, it's been 5 years, the first thing I noticed was my voice has changed. So it's sounds older, sounds a bit sort of croaky,
a little more character. Let's put it that way.
Maybe character. Yeah. And so my question to you there is, in this last 5 years, have you noticed your singing voice change, your tone of your voice, or
Yeah, probably a little.
Is it
Probably a little bit.
Is it something you're conscious of?
Definitely. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, you know, as a singer, your voice is your instrument, so you're hyper focused on your tone at all times, really. But sometimes, you know, changes happen so incrementally that you don't really notice it until you look back on something like what you just did.
Right.
And funnily enough, if I listen back to my releases from the early 2000s,
Yeah.
I mean, my voice sounds significantly different now.
Okay.
It still sounds like me, but it's like it's a baby version, you know, so it's like, it almost sounds like you've kind of sped the tape up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I think all voices change over time, and let's just say, you know, I've probably got a little more character in my voice 5 years on than I did before as well.
Yeah, well, it's been a hell of a 5 years.
It's been busy. It's been a lot of singing and
Yeah.
a lot of use of the voice.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think when we last left that off, your album was at the Masters. You were about to get it back.
Yep.
And the plan was to release a couple of singles, which you went on and did. Mm-hmm. And did you get a chance to sort of tour before COVID sort of kicked in?
No, not really. So, yeah, it was really unfortunate timing for the release of that album. The first two singles, or at least one single, came out before COVID. But basically, I think as of the second single, that was right around when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And the album I put out in the middle of 2020. So it was, you know, everyone was stuck at home. And I had already worked on the project for over a couple of years, and I didn't really want to just sort of sit on it and not put it out. So I put it out anyway. And in the moment, I didn't get to tour around the release. But the following year, I did come back here to Australia in 2021, and I also toured in Europe that year. And so it was sort of a belated album tour or album promo.
Yeah.
But we got out there a little bit. It was a real shame not to be able to just do it in the moment, but I mean, them's the breaks. There were so many other worse things that happened around that time. I was actually happy just to have something to sort of work on and think about in that period, you know, whilst I wasn't actually working on the road or live at all. It was good to have something to sort of put energy into. Made a couple of music videos just at home and, you know, tried to stay creative. So, yeah.
Had you done that before, made your own videos?
No, I hadn't done it before. So, just had to go. Actually, you know what? I did do one video myself for an alternate sort of project that I had in about 2012. But yeah, started to get a little bit more into making my own videos. But it was just something to do. I mean, you know, we all need all this video material these days because it's sort of the medium that everybody's the most connected to. And so, I had to go at creating some things myself, and it was fun. Yeah, it was a good challenge.
And your latest two songs, which we'll talk a little bit about later. You've done videos for those two.
I did, I did the videos for those two, and they were really DIY, literally just me on my own. So
they look great. It's really good.
Thank you. I mean, it was an effort capturing some of it by myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, it was a good challenge, and I've always been interested in photography. I'm by no means anywhere near a professional, not even really an amateur, but I do enjoy taking photos, framing photos, and I guess it's just an extension of that interest.
Yeah.
And just try to, I think there's something really fun about working with what you've got and trying to make something out of whatever you've got to work with, you know. And interestingly for me, like my first video clips I ever made were like big pop productions, you know. At least $50,000 was spent on those videos. They were filmed on actual film and stuff like that. So, like, it's a drastic sort of evolution or devolution from then to now. But I'm enjoying the challenge of coming up with these things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So when COVID sort of hit, you know, that all affected people in different ways.
Sure.
In that last interview that we did, you spoke of two moments that shut you down, right? So the first one was, you know, you were a singer, and then you went on to do some TV, trying to gather the crowd and stuff, and then, you know, you got sort of bummed because you'd become a celebrity and lost the music. That was sort of one point.
Yep.
And then another point was sort of the breakdown of a relationship. At that time, you'd made that project and you couldn't release it, right? So did you have a third shutdown during COVID, or no, you sort of came through it good?
I think considering the way it was for everyone, I think I weathered the storm okay.
Yeah, okay.
It was a challenging time. I was in a real limbo actually because I'd been working a lot in the US, touring there, and the new relationship that I was in, which was not terribly new but still newish, was with an American person. And I was on this temporary work visa in the US, and we found ourselves in a real quandary because our tour got cut short and I was meant to fly back to Australia a couple of weeks later. And as the days went by, every day things were changing. Australia closed the border to foreigners. Flights were basically being cancelled left, right and centre, and it was becoming obvious we were going to have to figure something out really quickly, or I was just going to leave, and we had no idea how long it would last and when we would see each other again. So we got married, and it was a real shotgun wedding, real sort of last minute decision. And we kind of joked about it at first, and then just went ahead and did it.
Yeah,
and in the end, it was great because it would have been a really, really long time away from each other, probably at least a year, probably more.
So the marriage allowed you to stay?
Yeah, that allowed me to stay in the US.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah, we got married, but then we had also, neither of us at the time had a living situation over there. We were planning to be living in New Zealand at the time.
Okay.
And we were not able to travel to New Zealand. And so we ended up buying an RV and lived in an RV for nearly 2 years, and which was not...
It sounds really cool, but the look on your face is like it probably wears on you.
Oh, listen,
right?
there's a lot of people worse off than that. Don't get me wrong, but it had its challenges. We were not really set up properly. We were at a friend's property. We didn't have running water in the RV.
Oh, so you weren't moving around?
We weren't moving around. We just had it parked at someone's house.
Were you able to move possibly from state to state?
We could have. Yeah.
Through COVID?
It was definitely not. I mean, it was not shut down really compared to here at all.
Okay.
And obviously that had its repercussions, but we did have the choice to move around if we'd wanted to, but we didn't. And so look, it was a challenging time. Obviously, the hardest part for me was not the living arrangement. It was just sort of all of a sudden being stripped of my work identity and not knowing what to do with myself and being bored and getting broke and then just really trying to find a purpose outside of playing music. So that was really tough, and I know all my fellow musicians went through that, and everybody dealt with it in different ways. We were lucky where we were living. We had access to some space where we were able to do a huge veggie garden, which is something that I can't normally do because I'm always traveling. So that was a real source of solace for me. The plants were my friends, and I would hand water everything morning and night, and it really gave me a little bit of structure to my life. So that was a real bonus, and learned to bake sourdough like a lot of other people. And we got through it.
A lot of new Instagram and Facebook pages came out of COVID.
Oh, they sure did.
There's a lot of chefs and
right.
Cooks
that's right.
and,
I've always
carpenters.
That's it. I've always been a foodie, but it really came out in full force during COVID. It went to the next level. So but that was one of the things that really got me through. So it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, this podcast sort of got me through.
I bet
was able to go remote, which I hadn't done before, and at the time it was all really exciting. But it's good to be back face to face.
Oh, totally.
It's the best.
Yeah. And I think we've all had enough Zoom, and it has its place. It's it's really opened up a lot of other possibilities that we were not really open to before. But nothing like face to face.
No, they've made plenty of money, eh? Zoom.
Oh wow, I bet.
Yeah. So you guys. Oh, so is your husband a musician?
He's not a musician.
He's not? Okay.
But he is in the industry. So he, now that I'm touring full-time with Joe Bonamassa, he's in the team for that tour. And he is basically handles all the hospitality for the tour. So, manages all the buses, the dressing rooms, and the catering for the tour.
So you're touring together?
Yeah, we're touring together.
Oh, how good's that?
It's great. We really wouldn't see each other very much otherwise. And we are touring together, but we're somewhat separated on the road. We don't travel on the same bus.
Yeah, right.
Often in a different hotel, but we see each other every day. So it's great. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're living in Ohio, you said, right?
No, we're living in Oregon.
Oregon, sorry.
Oregon.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Oregon. So what's the music scene like there?
Oh, not much to speak of in terms of what I do.
Okay. So you've gone and had a look?
I have had a look. So I'm about 3 hours from the city of Portland, and Portland, Oregon has an amazing music scene, really cool jazz scene, great soul scene, really great city. But it's 3 hours away, and in the winter it's 3 hours via a pretty snowy mountain pass. So it's not really viable for me to just pop up there and do gigs all the time. Okay. And where we live, we're sort of in the country, and so there is a thriving bluegrass and that kind of country, Americana kind of folk scene where we live. That goes off. There's a lot of that around. But in terms of more soulful music, there's basically nothing in my area. So, we have a beautiful home that we've built, and it's a really lovely retreat from being on the road. A great place to go home and spend 3 weeks. Yeah, recalibrate and just relax. Right. But
it's like a holiday at home, right?
Literally. Literally. So it's perfect for that. But in terms of if I want to get a local gig, there's not a lot going on. So for our current life status, it's a perfect spot. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask a bit later, I guess maybe you just answered that, was outside of touring, are you jumping on gigs? People asking you to.
More than anything, since being in the US, I am doing more recording work over there, and which is wonderful.
In studios or remotely?
Yeah. Both.
Okay.
So I have a setup of my own, and then I'm in Nashville quite a lot with Joe for rehearsal. Mm-hmm. We basically begin all of our tours there. So I go through Nashville a lot, and so work there.
So he's based there, is he?
He has, it's one of his homes is there.
Okay.
And all of our gear for tour is stored in Nashville. Right. So that's sort of our hub. Okay. And we usually meet there, rehearse for 3 days, and then take off from there. Okay. All of these tour bus companies, a lot of them are based there as well in Nashville. So it's that's a little bit of a regular spot for me, and also LA, where there's and I work in these beautiful studios there, really iconic studios, and it's awesome. So the American music scene is vast, and I'm just barely scratching the surface in terms of people that I know, or getting to work with people or whatever. But bit by bit, it's been great just to expand my horizons and work with some amazing people and on some really great projects. So it's a lot of fun. So
does a lot of that come from people going to a Joe gig and seeing you and then asking you who you are? And
that does come up quite a lot, especially with how big social media is now. Anyone can reach out to you if they want to, as long as you've got DMs open. So I get a lot of inquiries through social media. And sometimes there are things that are worth doing or interesting to me, and lots of things come up that way. But also through Joe, and also through the musicians in the band as well, who are all really high caliber people with extensive kind of musical networks. So I get lots of recommends from them, which is really nice. And that's just it's organically just how it kind of plays out.
That's cool. So so going back to the gig requests and stuff through the DMs, what's the strangest one you've got?
I had a funny one today, actually. But it was from here in Australia. Okay. And I think it was someone who remembers me fondly from my pop R&B era, and it's someone from the hip hop scene, basically wondering if I want to be sort of featuring on some really hardcore Aussie hip hop track, which I'm open to anything, but and it wasn't that obscure a request, but it was just funny. I feel like I have somewhat outgrown that stage. Not to be better than it, I'm just sort of in a different place, and so it was funny. I think some people just know you as something and you stay that way to them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was funny. But I mean, I get all sorts of random requests. It's usually for me, the music dictates whether I want to get on board or not. So I'll usually just check out their page and see what they're all about. And sometimes, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but sometimes the music is a bit questionable. So I try to just politely decline or, make up a believable reason why I'm unavailable.
Or just don't reply, right?
Well, I mean, I try to respond. I'm pretty responsive on my social media.
Yeah.
And I, it's a lot to maintain, but if I actually have time to read it, and you don't have to start a big D&M with people, but I don't feel I'm not worried about just politely saying no, or at least reading someone's message and giving them a response. Rather, I'm not a big fan of just the don't respond unless someone's being a creep or an asshole or something.
Of course,
then they can get a hard block.
But the reason I asked, I mean, that happens a lot.
It does.
I know for myself, because the way I contact people, if I haven't met someone through someone, and I think that's how I initially got hold of you.
Yep.
That time ago. So many people don't respond.
Yeah, right.
And that's okay. I'm cool with it now. Early on,
I think I'm from a generation. I'm maybe at the bottom, at the tail end of that generation, that I find that quite rude.
Yeah, so do I.
And so to me, it's important to respond. At least say something, thanks, but no thanks, or And to me, that's normal to do that. But I think that's become. It's not required these days, just to not respond seems to be acceptable, which in some contexts I think is fine. If someone is out of line, then obviously you're not going to respond. But if someone's politely approached you about anything, I mean, I'm not that busy that I can't just say, sorry, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but I mean, I get it. When people don't respond, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone's different too, Yeah. You've got to be cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've got my back to the band. There's people coming in. There's bands turning up and stuff.
So the eager beavers of this gig like to come very early to secure their tables because there's no assigned sitting in this venue. So the regulars like to show up really early, and we do have a couple of people already seated in the front row.
There's quite a few people.
Yeah, one
now.
table is already fully seated, and the horn section has arrived. And that's about it so far. I think the rest of them will dribble in shortly.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the band then tonight. So who's playing?
Absolutely. Well, Hamish Stewart and Jonathan Schwartz, who are the backbone of this operation, are in the rhythm section, but they are also quite frequently my rhythm section anyway when I play over here in Australia.
And they played on your album?
They played on the last record, and Hamish is on pretty much all of the new record as well. I think that must be Ben is here. Ben Rogers on guitar tonight.
Yep.
Just warming up. And Ben actually produced the new record that I've made with me. So he and I worked on that. Sort of started in COVID, actually.
Yep. That
That was another thing that I did to try and stay sane, was I did a bunch of writing, and, we did a lot of remote writing for that. And who else is in the band tonight? Clayton Doley on the organ. Mm-hmm. The horn section is James Greening on trombone, Matt Keegan on saxophone, and Nick Garbett on trumpet. Absolutely beautiful players and wonderful people. And my dad plays piano tonight. And in the BVs section, we have Mahalia Barnes, Rebecca Jensen, Karen Lee Andrews, and my mum Joy.
Bloody hell. So that's a hell of a band.
It's a stellar band. I'm
lucky to be here.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and being able to, that's one thing about this gig, this particular gig, is you can have this size band and that you're going to have enough people here to actually still get everybody paid, which that's, it's a legitimate concern if you want to have 4 singers and 3 horns and 2 keyboard players in your band and make sure everybody gets paid. You got to sell tickets, and it's amazing to be able to just do that here, and people love it. They really get involved, and it's really fun.
Yeah. So that, talking about vocal then, so in those situations where you can bring in 4 BVs, right? What's the sort of a minimum that you'd put
that
in,
I would get?
That you would put in there?
I think for BVs, you kind of want to have minimum 2.
Yeah.
I think to have 1 BV always feels a little bit weird, because you can't really they can't really sing stacks with anyone, you know. So if you have any sort of like long oohs or anything like that, it's just one note on its own, which feels a bit funny.
So what's a stack? Sorry?
Like a stack of harmonies. Like you can't, so you can, like if you have like some long oohs or ahs and, you know, they're trying to be, you want them harmonized, it's like, well, it's actually just going to be one person singing a long ooh on their own, which can feel a little bit strange.
Yep.
But, you know, fortunately some of the guys in the band sing a little bit too. Ben's a really good singer. Clayton sings well. So, you know, sometimes I just have to lean on the boys to sing. It just depends. When I toured in Europe last year, I didn't have any singers. So, you know, it was interesting for me because a lot of my music is really heavy on the BVs. And I had to sort of just learn to sing the songs a little bit differently. And it was a little more demanding for me. I had to really work the dynamic a lot harder without that sort of light and shade of them coming in and out. And just having their support as well. But it was great for me because I was able to just, you know, find a different pathway with the songs and make it work. And, you know, for touring and stuff, it's not always practical to have a giant band like this. As much as I would love it, it's, you know, it's not always possible. Well, it's mostly not possible. So, you know, this is a real privilege to be able to pull the whole thing together like this.
Yeah, good. Let's talk a little bit about the new music.
Sure.
Right, because I've been cracking those
nice.
first couple of songs.
Thank you so much.
That's really cool. So, so that came about through COVID.
Yeah, well, you know, I'd put out my Handle Me With Care in 2020, and then eventually I was able to come back to Australia in 2021. And, you know, I'm always kind of writing most of the time. So, you know, I actually had a bit of a stint with Mahalia and Ben at their place, and Ben and I got in the studio. They had a studio at home at that point. And, you know, he's someone who's sort of working and writing all the time and very creative. And we've always had a good creative partnership, done lots of things together over the years. But yeah, he and I got in the studio and did a little bit of writing on that trip in 2021. And that was sort of the seeds of what would eventually become this album it's basically finished now. So it was funny though, because after that point, a lot of stuff happened remotely in terms of the writing, but also the recording. So I'd come back to Australia and we'd try and do like 2 days and record some rhythm beds or something like that. And then I'd go away and I'd do a bit of vocal here, and like it's been recorded all over the world in random places. But we just pieced it together as, you know, best we could. And I don't think it feels that way now that it's finished. But it was a real jigsaw puzzle, like trying to, you know, put it together, partly because of COVID at first, but then also because I'd still wanted to use my, family of musicians here, and I'm not here. So, you know, it was a challenge just trying to get everybody in when I was here for 5 days and then, you know, just then try to do the rest, you know, by long distance. But I don't think it feels like that now that it's all finished and everything is together. I feel like it's all...
so it's a little bit more poppy. Hey, Ben, how you going, man?
Yeah,
Good to see you, bud.
It's more electric, this album, you know, like the last one, there he is. We're just talking about you.
There's Ben Rogers.
The last record, one of the focus points for me was to create something that would be suitable to feature mum and dad.
Yep.
Whereas this time, they are still on the record, but I didn't make that as much of a feature as I did last time. So, you know, this time it's an electric album, like everything's electric bass, and you know, last time was all double bass, and things generally felt a little bit more not acoustic, but not as hard electric.
Yep.
And you know, probably the last record was more 50s, 60s influence. This is probably more 70s.
Okay. You can definitely hear that.
Yeah,
especially with the drums too. The drums seem to have a little bit more backbeaty,
exactly.
Up in the mix type.
Yeah, a bit more punchy.
Yep.
So Hamish plays on almost all the tracks.
Yep.
And my brother plays on a couple. So that which was
brother's
cool.
Drummer, right?
Yeah, he's a drummer too. So
right.
he was just there one day when we were in the studio, and we needed someone to play, and he was perfect for it. So it worked out great.
Yep.
and it's nice to have him involved as well because I didn't get him on the last one. So, yeah, he's in there on a track called Shots Fired.
Yeah. That's cool.
So
what's his sort of what's his music background? What's
he's
he's
a hip hop guy.
DJ type.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he produces a lot of hip hop and club music, I'm going to say, these days.
Okay.
Which is quite diverse, from hip hop through to more dance music these days as well. But and he also plays drums. So his sort of element of strength, I guess, is the rhythm.
Yep.
But yeah, he does a lot of cool projects collaborating with different singers and rappers, and yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lucky we did this half an hour earlier, eh?
I know.
Because it's
getting busy.
It's getting hectic, eh?
It's getting kind of hectic.
Okay. So what you spoke about too in the last interview was two things. You felt like you needed to try and reconnect with the audience.
Yep.
And re-establish yourself as an artist. So do you think that you've done that in the last 5 years?
Wow. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I reckon yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. That's interesting. Sometimes when you do interviews, you say stuff and then later down the track you're like, oh my God, what was I talking about? But that sounds pretty on point.
Yeah.
I think I have, definitely feel more in a rhythm with feeling like an artist again. It's definitely a challenge with all the work that I'm doing, all the touring work. It's quite hard to find the space.
Yeah.
I'm sort of back in it, and I'm really thankful for my Australian audience because I think a lot of people who had maybe supported me way back in the day seem to have kind of come back around and are here for another round, which is awesome. And, it's definitely very much on a grassroots level right now. Like I'm not, I'm not doing any arena tours anytime soon.
Yep.
But I am feeling like I can make music that I'm enjoying and share it live sometimes, which that might sound kind of modest, but it's actually huge. People, it's really hard these days to do anything and be able to get it across the line, get it out and play live. And
there's just so much of it.
There's so much of it, and
there's
it's
so much shit.
Yeah. It's
really, all due respect, but
well, anyone can make music now, so the doors are open to anyone. You can do it on your phone, you can, it's very accessible now to create music. But yeah, that just means that, the floodgates are open in terms of there's no quality control anymore. Interestingly, I went to Motown Records recently when I was in Detroit.
I saw that.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing. Obviously it was very cool to be in the space and in those rooms and everything.
Yeah,
What was really cool as well was also hearing about the process back in the day that they went, how stringent it was for their quality control, and the amount of the level of meeting upon meeting upon meeting that things had to clear before they were
really
approved for release, and how how seriously they took that.
Pretty sort of tight ship, right?
Exactly, and they had really extensive teams of people who all had a say on that stuff, and lots of sort of really very high expectations of anyone who was working there. So I loved that. I thought it's so the opposite of what we've got now, where it's anyone's game, which. The upside of today's version is that, people who might not have had the opportunity before now have the opportunity, so they have access. But, that sort of comes at a cost too. So, it is what it is. We just all got to deal with it.
Yeah. So you're off touring again with Joe?
Yeah, in a month from now. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So in that any downtime there, are you planning to...
I'm about
do your own stuff.
Well,
sorry. Let's back it up a little bit. So when's the new album coming out?
Oh yeah, okay. So that's a really good question, burning on my lips. But probably May. It's looking like May,
yep.
And I actually do have a few little windows of opportunity in the middle of this year that I am going to try to maybe get back here. Come and play a little bit around the album release.
Yep.
And maybe over there as well.
Cool.
But yeah, I've been playing a little bit in the US, not much, but I've got a really nice band that I use in LA, and actually two Australian guys.
Yep.
And who are living over there now, Nick Maybury and
Yep.
Christian Attard.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, look, the man of the hour, Hamish
Here's-
Stewart.
Here's trouble.
Yes, here he is.
You go,
He
Hamish.
sang a song last night.
Did you really?
Oh,
You're not going to see that tonight.
we
But I
were
do.
putting bets on
We're
what
just
you might
talking
sing
about it.
tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've got a gag for you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if you dream about a toilet,
Yes.
don't use it.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, very good. Amazing.
Oh,
Oh, very good.
Did I miss
I'm
it?
not
My
sure it was
timing's off.
worthy. I don't know if it was worthy of that, but
my comedic timing was crap there.
well, that makes two of you. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So yeah, mid-year, new record. Going to try to come over and do some shows and yeah, see what happens next.
Yeah, that's cool. So the US, typically a tough market for internationals to crack, really,
I think
or
it's just
no?
a tough market, full stop. Because
What, even for the Americans?
yeah,
right?
it's just there's just so much music being made, and it's just exactly what we were just talking about before. Same thing applies over there. The difference is that over there is a much more sort of developed culture of consumption of music. People really love going out to see live music. But musicians are respected. Like the art form is a little more respected, I think, than it is here. Especially things like jazz and things like that. It's like when sometimes I feel like here in Australia, and this is maybe changing a bit, but sometimes it's almost a joke that you're a musician. It's like, oh, you do that for a living. Oh, wow, okay. Whereas I feel like there's less of that over there. There's a more established sort of culture of going to gigs and paying money for music as well. But yeah, as far as artists breaking over there, I mean, it's tough because there's competition. It's a flooded market. But there's a far bigger population over there to play to. And what's cool over there is you can really hone in on local markets. Certain areas, like where I live is called the Pacific Northwest. And, if I wanted to, I could really just try and hone in on the Pacific Northwest, like Seattle, Portland. There's a sort of like a circuit, I'd say, of cities. And you can sort of start small like that and try and grow from there. And that's all over the country. People can be quite successful just in their little pocket and sustain a career just like that, So, yeah, it's good.
So who were some of the artists or acts in that particular what did you call it? The
Pacific Northwest?
Pacific Northwest?
Well,
Or who's come out of there?
I think Alan Stone is from Spokane, Washington, which is up where we are, like not too far, about 4 hours from where I live. So he's one for sure. And then, it's hard for me to pull names right now. But, Portland, Oregon has a really sort of thriving like jazz and blues and soul scene. A lot of cool artists coming out of there. So, yeah, it's definitely possible to if you're trying to just do that as your full-time gig of just being an artist. Like you can really focus on your local area and make it happen to a degree. You've got to be good or lucky or both,
course, yeah. Right.
But that's possible. Yeah.
And what about going back to tour in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I was meant to go last year, and then it wasn't financially viable for me to go. It's a big investment, and I don't have a big enough following yet over there to break even, basically. So every time I go, it's an investment, and I did it 2 years in a row, and it was awesome. We had a lot of fun. Second time especially was really fun because I took my Australian band. But it was, it's a big challenge to float it. And after COVID and not working for, 18 months and all my supplies were a little depleted. And so,
rebuild, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So I'm sort of just in that mode. So maybe this year, I'm also trying to take advantage of when I'm in Europe with Joe, looking for opportunities while I'm on the ground over there or extending trips like that. So just to try to be a little bit more smart about it with the travel. Yeah.
Well, it's starting to really get loud and rampy in here. So
It's a party in here already.
So, I think we might wrap it up. I think we've
All right,
we've
awesome.
covered everything. And
Well, it's been great chatting again.
yeah, so good. I'm really looking forward to the gig. So
Thank you.
I'll let you get out to your people now. And
Awesome, Stevie.
Sweet as, Dave.
All right,
Take it
take
easy.
it easy.
See you,
Bye.
mate. Yo, it's Stevie here. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you dig the Gig Life podcast, please subscribe, share, leave a review. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You can send me a message if you have an idea for a guest or if you just want to say hello. This podcast is free, costs you nothing, but if you find the value in the Gig Life podcast, you can leave a tip or a donation. Links are in the show notes on your app. That's it for me for now. Catch you next time, guys. Cheers.